when this topic was first mentioned a few months ago, what struck me was when I started to kind of conjure up in my own mind what my perfect day might look like, it was really immediately apparent that it looked very different to what it might have looked like a few years ago. And I thought that was quite interesting how we grow and change. Because if someone had said to me, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, what would your perfect day be? It would have literally been sleeping. I was just always tired and stressed. And it would have just, my perfect day would have just been to be in bed and be left alone. I'd forgotten, but a few years ago, someone introduced me to this herb. It's a little bit like ginseng, but it's a million times stronger, called gynostemma. And it's called a tea, but it's not really a tea. It is more a herbal infusion. And it's this beautiful Chinese plant that if you're tired, it livens you up, yet it's not a stimulant like caffeine. And if you're really kind of wound up, it calms you. And it's just full of what they call adaptogens, and it just helps your body deal with what's going on in your body and outside your body. And I've used it before, and I'd kind of forgotten about this tea, but this friend who's going through a rough time, it kind of put me in mind of this tea. So I said, I'm going to order some of that tea, and I'm going to have you around at mine for a day, and we'll light candles and we'll play some nice music, and we'll sit and we'll sip this herbal tea, and I wanted to sort of sit with her and try and invite some sort of peace and tranquility into her day. Anyway, like I said, she couldn't make it. She double booked herself. So my son was away last Sunday night and wasn't coming back till Tuesday. So I had all day Monday completely to please myself, which just like never ever happens. So I thought, well, what I'll do is if I can create that for her, then I can create that for myself. So I very strongly made an intention with myself to treat Monday as if like a bit like a kind of self-led health farm sort of stroke spa day. But I'm also skint, so I couldn't go out and pay for a massage or anything like that. So anyway, what happened was I woke up really stupid o'clock in the morning, as you do when you hit the menopause. And rather than fighting it and trying to go back to sleep, I got up, partly because I thought, well, if I am tired later, there's no pressure on me today, so it's fine. So I got up, and I don't know if anyone was in York on Monday morning and awake in the early hours, but it was incredibly foggy. And most days I go for a walk. We've got a little woodland area near us. It's just part of our park, but it's absolutely stunning when you're in there. You really do feel like you're in the depths of a forest. And I've got a favourite tree. And I often try and sort of ground myself by just doing a loop through the park, and I'll just go and I hug it if no one's looking, but if anyone's looking, I just kind of make it look like I've accidentally touched it and just try and connect a bit with it. Anyway, so I put my wellies on and I went into the woods just as the sun was coming up in this really thick fog. And that was a bit like being a child again, like playing out in the cold, all wrapped up, which doesn't sound like any great shakes, but normally I would have to be here to get Adam up and get him sorted and see to him before I could go for a walk. So there was a sense of freedom that I could just go. And then when I'd had my walk and been to see my tree and played in the fog, I kind of didn't want to come home. So I thought, oh, what can I do? And none of the shops were open. It was still really early. But I thought, oh, the organic bakery will be open. So I walked to the bakery and bought myself some sourdough bread. And then I went to the co-op because that was open, and I bought myself an avocado. And then I came home and the heating was on. I made some gynostemma tea, and I made avocado on toast, and I put shamanic music on Alexa, and I didn't put any electric lights on. I just purely lit candles all over the kitchen and sat and had this breakfast in the kitchen on my own with this lovely music. And then I got my pens and paper out, and I've been meaning to try and draft a new poem for ages and not bothered. So I did that. It's by no means finished, but I made a start and got my thoughts down. Then I sat in a big cosy armchair and had a couple of hours of just crocheting, which is, I just love crocheting. And the only picture that really sparked any interest that Sue just showed was the one with all the balls of wool. And then I ran a bubbly bath and put lavender in and salt scrubbed my body and just laid there. Normally I have to get in, get washed, get out quickly because there's something to do. I just laid there for ages. And then I put comfy clothes on and I slipped back into bed and I played a meditation on YouTube through my earphones. And I was just getting to the point, by this point in the day, it was about 4 o'clock. And I was just starting to drift off when my teenage granddaughter knocked on the door, and I ignored it. I thought she might go away, and she didn't. So I came down and answered the door, and I said, I was just meditating. And she went, oh, I'm sorry, as she barged past me and went into the kitchen. And I thought, right, well, there's no point in kind of pursuing this, because she was obviously meant to come today and she's your granddaughter and you love her. So rather than sort of feeling resentful, we just kind of looked through the freezer to see what I had available for her to stay. And then my husband came in from work and we all had dinner together. And I always like to walk after I've eaten. So we had a meal together and then cleared up the kitchen, and then we walked her home after dark, which I wouldn't have done on my own. So we all went together and walked back, and that was it. And then at the end of it, it doesn't sound like anything huge, I know, but for me, it was genuinely just my perfect day.
Day. Really, I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect day. You can maybe try to have something less than imperfect, but I think you're always going to have some sort of problem or other that stops you having a perfect day, because that's just life. My perfect day, it would be a vastly different perfect day from if it was a perfect day in reality. That would be a completely different day if it was a day in fantasy. You know, it depends, you know, which sort of day you want, whether it's like a fantasy day that you would maybe dream something you would like to do which wouldn't be at all possible in reality, or whether it would be a day that would be achievable. So I've gone with a day that would be achievable, and I would be on a cruise somewhere, I don't know, anywhere, somewhere I've not been before. And we would get to this lovely location and go around and see all these new things, and discover a bit about a new culture of a place that I've never been to before. Have a meal that, you know, you've never tried before, and maybe some different wine that you've never tried before, you know, just to do all sorts of new things that you've never done before. So it wouldn't be boring, and it would be a totally new experience. I would take lots of pictures, meet some interesting people. It would have to be a sunny day, no rain, no wind. It's got to be a really sunny day. That was about it, really. Just something that's totally enjoyable, memorable, something you can talk about and say to people, oh, I went to a really wonderful place and everything was great. The people were lovely, the food, the drink was lovely, the weather was lovely. So I suppose that's as near perfect a day as you would get, really. So that was it. That was my perfect day.
First of all, I would like to wake up and it to be preferably a spring day. I always wake up extremely early, but I'd like it to be just turning lights. and hear birds singing, and for it to be sunny and reasonably warm, not too much wind. So I would get up and I think, okay, this is an excellent day for cycling. Not in a lycra cycle way. When I cycle, I like to cycle reasonably slowly, of course, as far as possible away from motorized vehicles. But whether I'm in York or in Amsterdam, there are cycle paths. For example, the cycle path to Selby here. And so I'd get myself ready. I was have a light breakfast and then get on my bike and start cycling. And well, as cycling, have plenty of time to look around. Again, listen to the birds, look at the birds, look at the new leaves on the tree, and look at any flowers that are blossoming, possibly pass people on the cycle path, people walking their dogs, might even stop and have a bit of a chat to the people with the dogs, because I'm crazy about dogs, although I wouldn't have a dog myself. It's not possible with my lifestyle. And then have a goal. I always like to have a goal when I'm cycling somewhere, even though the cycling is a pleasure. But it's nice to have a goal, for example, thinking when I get to, for example, Selby, think when I'm in Selby, I'm going to go to a particular baker. I don't know if this baker exists, but let's pretend that this baker exists in Selby, and buy some bread there, and then maybe have a little look around in Selby. If I'm cycling, on this occasion, I'm cycling by myself. If I was cycling with somebody else, we'd go and have a coffee, but this time I'm cycling by myself. So then I would cycle slowly home, and maybe when I get home, there'd be some interesting event to go to, not too late in the evening, because I like to go to bed late. Early. But something, say, late afternoon, for example, there might be something in the theatre, or there might be something musical. And then I go back and then get into my nice comfy bed and put on the radio, and hopefully there's a program which isn't alarming, but not the news, but something interesting about some person, and gradually drift off to sleep. And that would be, for me, a perfect day.
My perfect day. The midwives would understand. I was worried, fearful pre-labour, and not send me home. I had already lost 3 and needed reassurance. They would recognise an abusive partner and shield me when I was at my most vulnerable, and not keep leaving the room. But they would notice he was withholding gas and air and intervene. I had no voice. Lost in pain, focusing my requests before needs focusing my needs before in pain, focusing my requests before needs in attempts to avoid more pain. But forceps were not used. There would be no screen, and I could see and watch my child emerge from the emergency C-section. They would let me hold my baby first, not place him in my abuser's arms. They would tell me it was okay. My child was here to stay this time. Someone would help me pick up my child for me more than 12 hours whilst I recovered. They would tell me milk supply is often affected by cesareans. But it wasn't my fault. My perfect day. My child was visiting today. My heart was so full of love that pain evaporated. My child was here, this moment, this now, this all. I did not know about tomorrows. I knew about today.
My favorite day was when I were in Tunisia with my mom and my daughter. It was one of the summers because every summer holiday I go back home, and I always enjoyed like being with my mom and my daughter like the same time, in the same place. Because for the rest of the year I live far away from home, and yeah, I go out. I saw families everywhere, and that sometimes makes me upset and sad. But it became worse because my mom passed away 2 years ago, and but now I think of it differently, because I felt like I am blessed because I have the opportunity to have a mother and to express her love and like many other things. Like some people they don't maybe have a mother, or they lost their mother like in young age, and like it's strange because in that day I also felt lots like of love, and I shared my feelings with her and with my daughter. We was on the beach. My mom wasn't like that kind of thing. She didn't like to go out too much or to go to restaurants or cafes. She was like in that time she was like in her 72 years old. And she always like, oh no, let's go out, and but she preferred to stay at home. But that day she was outside and she was happy. And we all like were very happy. And yeah, that's was one of my favorite moments. And yeah.
Oh, well, my perfect day would look like a Saturday, a very warm Saturday, and it would start at around 2 p.m. because I like my mornings to be very slow. For this Saturday, I would love it to be on a train or a car traveling to a far distance, maybe 3 hours drive or 3 hours in a train, with my earphones listening to beautiful music, especially from Kenya, and some music that I know and I love on repeat. I would be traveling, thinking of my life from the start, my journey, and where I am right now. And I would want it to be silent with no people around, seated very close to the window and watching the weather change. I would want it to have all types of weather, like maybe sunshine, and at some point raining, and then gets dark while I'm coming back from where I started. I wouldn't want to stop at any point, just move round and round, but listening to good music. And I would love to have some sandwich units and a drink, as I just talk to myself and think about changing things about myself and my situation. I would want to maybe stop at York train station and get a bike, ride home slowly into the town, and see how beautiful it looks like at night, because I've seen that Yorktown has lights every day in the evening, very beautiful lights. So I'm going to ride the bike inside York and slowly get into the place where I live. My perfect day would look like that, short in words, but very long in action.
Hi, I'm Maya. My perfect day would be being able to eat all the food that I wanted, but not being full. I've always wanted to do that, because you see people and they can just eat and eat and eat, but I always have just a little bit and then I can't eat anymore and it just makes me sad. So I'd really like to be able to do that, and then I could try all the food that I'd like from different cultures as well.
My name is Maisie. My perfect day would be spent in my family's back garden with my family and my loved ones, sat around ideally a large plant of raspberries and maybe a good few beers and some bubbly. Just to be able to spend, having that privilege to be able to spend one single perfect day with the people that I love without having to worry about the wrongs in the world would be perfect.
When Sue mentioned this, my perfect day, I knew that I wanted to be around water. Because when I was living in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada, in the central part of Canada, we always spent our summers at a lake. And I, of course, did a lot of swimming and water skiing and everything. So I thought, okay, that's number one. I want to be near some water. The other thing I wanted to be was around some of my friends. So I'm afraid I'm zipping all over the world here, but I wanted to bring, and also music. Music's a big thing for me. I'm very eclectic in my choice of, I like a bit of opera arias. I like John Denver, Dire Straits, Carly Simon. I've got a list here, but anyway, Simon and Garfunkel anyway. So what I would like to do is transport these two friends and Sue and me over to the other side of Canada, to Vancouver Island. So we would fly from here to Vancouver with a green energy it would be. I don't know how that works, but and then we would go up to North Vancouver and take a ferry across to Vancouver Island. And on that island is the most beautiful lake house. It has 3 bedrooms in the top and 4 in the on the bottom level. I've only been there in the autumn, but I would think this would probably be in May or June. And the 4 of us would turn up and at this place, we'd be driven there, and we could just fall into bed. We'd been flying all night. And then our day, my special day, would be getting up in the morning and having whatever, this would all be prepared ahead of time. So I wouldn't have to make anything and everything. It's all there they can have what they want to have for breakfast. And then we could go for a lovely long walk. It's a beautiful place. And then then afternoon or lunch was again, you get what you want, and there would be lots of choice there. And then maybe go kayaking or canoeing in the afternoon down the lake, and it's just a lovely lake. And in the evening for dinner, it would be potatoes and carrots and onions wrapped in foil wraps tightly over the barbecue, stick it right on the barbecue. And then we would have a skewer of different peppers and mushrooms and other things. And some other veggies that would probably be roasted in some way. And that would be great. And then I'd put on different music and we'd all dance if we wanted to. And it could be jiving, you're doing mainly your own thing, your own moving to your own dancing. And I just would love that. And then everybody could go and have a good sleep afterwards. They all would have a separate bedroom. And then we'd leave in the morning. So that's my special day. Right, this is my perfect day. First of all, I have to sort out the world's problems because I'm not going to have a perfect day unless everybody else in the world is actually okay. So can I just tell you that there is going to be an invention, a lot of magic in this, an invention called Sue's boomerang. And it applies to every single weapon in the world. And it means that the weapon is set on rebound. So when you fire it, you hit yourself. And this is to stop all the wars immediately, because nobody would be able to fire anything without killing themselves. You might have a lot of martyrs there. Oh dear. Oh, no, but it was only blow yourself up, so you're not hurting anybody else. All right then. So Sue's boomerang, that's it. That would sort out all the wars, so we wouldn't have any more death and dying and slaughter and all that sort of stuff, and Gaza would be fine, and the Yemen would be fine, and everybody's going to be fine. Second thing is global warming. In order to do this, I'm going to have to wake Gaia up, and the Earth is going to go into lockdown. So nobody would be able to take any more fossil fuels out of the ground. That's it. Having locked off all fossil fuels, we will then have to invest all our energies and all our ingenuity in green energy. The sun shining, the wind blowing, the sea tidally surging, water rushing down rivers. We're going to have to actually work with nature and support our energy needs in a sustainable fashion. That'll settle that. The next thing is the imbalance between rich and poor. So I'm going to rebalance the rich and poor equation and gap, and I'm going to actually have everybody's income being sufficient to their needs. So then your housing, your food, your energy, your work, your job, your income would be enough, sufficient for your needs of you and your family and your neighborhood and your community. Sufficient. You don't need to have more than an ample sufficiency. So that would settle that. Then there is the whole thing about animals. We don't need to be unkind. So the ethic of kindness is going to prevail. So kindness is going to be the in thing, not making profits and killing things. Kindness and living together on this planet. So we need to stop. We're just to be unethical and to kill animals and to put them in factory farms and make them suffer. That is going to be a total, oh, we wouldn't do that because that's so distasteful and horrible. We're not going to be like that. We're not going to do that anymore. And so that would save the animals and the birds and the hens and the chickens and the fish and the everything else we're being eating. And we were going to find great satisfaction in looking after the land, because it's the land as well where we're going to be growing all our plants. So we're not going to, pesticides are out. And again, it's going to be unethical to use pesticides. So you're not going to poison the soil. The soil is going to be enriched again. The plants that we're eating going to be full of nutrients, and we are going to be very healthy as a result of this. And then the other thing I need to sort out is education. So the children growing up in this new, in order for me to have a perfect day, remember where this is all coming from, the children are going to be educated to satisfy their curiosity and their creativity. All right. So then we are going to have a new generation which recognizes and celebrates diversity and difference. And so we are going to have people of all shapes and sizes and colors and everything else celebrated because of their diversity, because we know that the richness of life comes from people being totally different and have totally different ideas and so on and so forth. So that will be wonderful. And then religions and all this kind of inbuilt belief systems, that will all vanish away, because we are now into toleration and acceptance of difference. So it doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you don't put anything, don't force me into anything at all, or don't judge me. And instead of relying on a doctrine, you are relying on dealing with me as an individual person, as a real person. And here I am, here is Sue, now deal with me here and now. And we can sort things out together with any luck. Now, having sorted all that lot, and we can probably think of a lot of other things we could do to, like having our votes counted and not being right. We were not going into that, and having a healthcare system that is free at point of need. Right, we won't go into all that. But there are a lot of things to be sorted out in the world. That's what I'm just trying to indicate. There are a lot of things that need sorting out. Humanity needs to sort itself out before an individual person can say, take a deep breath. And then now I would like to have a very peaceful day with going out, having a lovely, actually I might be on a vegan cruise, going out and exploring all the different cities along the river as we go, coming back and having a lovely vegan food, and then having a good book, because I think this is something that's come up as well for many of the women here, is to have a good book to take you away onto a lovely, whatever your choice of books are, and then in the evening settle down with your good book, have a good nice little snack at the end of the evening, and then tuck yourself up in bed with if it's winter, with an electric blanket, so you go into a nice warm bed. Oh, and by the way, you've got a nice foot warmer cushion. So you've warmed your feet up in the foot warmer cushion, you have read your book, you've had your nice little snack, and then you go into a nice warm bed and sleep beautifully and have wonderful dreams of what it is to have a very perfect day.
Hello, Sue, and hello, everybody. My perfect day. What a great theme. I'm so sorry I can't be with you in person, but Sue just reminded me earlier today that I could actually send in a little video. So this is what I'm doing. And I've had a think, and what I think one of my perfect days. There are many, many ingredients that would make an excellent day for me. But since I've been looking into time travel and not doing it, I don't think at this point myself, but thinking about how possibly we have parallel timelines going on at the same time, and stepping into different realities. So, given that my children are both very far away and my granddaughter, my perfect day would be to gather all of them and all of their extended families as well together somewhere lovely and warm with lovely food and nice activities. And it would definitely go on longer than one day because it wouldn't be long enough. But that's what I would love to do. And the reason I've got this dragon behind me is because it's the year of the dragon. And I think many of my perfect days this year are going to include messages from dragons, hopefully. I don't know whether I really want to meet a dragon in person, but I would like to have some messages from other worlds or something like that to help clarify the way forward for everybody and to be able to pass those messages on. So that's, I think, all I've got to say about that. So keep up the good work and hope to see you at some point in the near future.